Hello! One of the first things you need to learn when starting out on bass is how to find notes on the fretboard. This will help you communicate with other musicians. In music, notes are written with letters A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and they form a cycle. After the G note, we go back to A. We'll start by learning the names of the open strings. This gives us a reference point and you will need it for tuning your bass. The first open string is E. This means that if I play this string without using my left hand, I'm playing an E note. Next we have the A string, then D, and finally G. E, A, D, G. Being in tune means adjusting your bass so that when you play the open strings, you produce these specific notes. If you're out of tune, nothing you play will sound right. Okay, so we know the open strings. The thickest string is E, followed by A, then D, and the thinnest is G. To find other notes, we could memorize the entire fretboard, but I prefer to focus on how to find them. And as you repeatedly find the notes you use all the time, you naturally end up memorizing them. To find notes on the fretboard, we'll use a simple rule. Between each note A, B, C, D, E, F, G, we will skip one fret. For example, between C and D, you skip one fret. Between D and E, you skip one fret as well. But be careful, there is an exception. Between the notes B and C, we don't skip a fret. And between E and F, we don't skip a fret either. To remember these exceptions, think of big cats eat fish. Between big cats, B and C, we don't skip a fret. And between eat fish, E and F, we don't skip a fret. So after the E note, we are between E and F. So we don't skip a fret. F is right next to E. So, to find the notes on the fretboard, you need to remember three things. The name of the open strings, E, A, D, G. The rule between each note, you skip one fret, and the exception, big cats eat fish. Between B and C and between E and F, you don't skip a fret. Let's do it together. We're going to find the notes on the first string. First, what is the note of the first string? We know by heart that the name of the first open string is E. What is the note after E? And where is it on the first string? The note after E is F, and be careful, we are in the exception big cats eat fish. We are between eat, fish, E and F, so we don't skip a fret. F is right next to E on the first fret. Let's continue. Which note is after F and where is it? After F, it is G. Are we in the exception big cats eat fish? Are we between B and C or E and F? No, so we apply the rule. We skip one fret between each note. So the G is 2 frets further on the third fret. To help you find your way around, there is a little dot indicating the third fret. Let's continue. What is the note after G and where is it? The notes form a loop, so after G, we return to A. We are not in the exception because we are not between the notes B and C or E and F, so we skip one fret, and the A is on the 5th fret. There is also a little dot to help you find the 5th fret quickly. After A, we still are not in the exception big cats eat fish. We are not between B and C or E and F, so we skip one fret to find the B on the 7th fret. Then, beware of the exception. The next note after B is C. The exception is big cats eat fish. Between B and C or E and F, we don't skip a fret. We are between B and C, so we don't skip a fret. C is right next to B. Then we are not between B and C or E and F, so we skip a fret. C, D. We find D 2 frets after C on the 10th fret. After D, same thing, we skip one fret. and we get C, D, E. The E is on the 12th fret. And here, you notice that we're back to an E. We've gone through all the notes, we started from the open E string, and we find another E on the 12th fret. This is a very important symmetry on the bass. All the open string notes, E, A, B, G, repeat at the 12th fret. E, A, D, G. This means that if you're looking for a note beyond the 12th fret, you don't start over from the beginning of the fretboard. Instead, you use the 12th fret as a new reference point. For example, let's find a note on the 15th fret. Instead of starting from the E on the open string and finding all the notes up to the 15th fret, I start from the E at the 12th fret. And just like at the beginning of the neck, I have F, then G. I can find the notes on the other strings the same way. The second string is tuned to A, so I start from A. Since A is not between B and C or E and F, big cats eat fish, I skip one fret and find the next note, B. I have a B on the second fret of the second string. Now I'm on B and I'm moving to C, so I'm in the exception, big cats eat fish. I'm between B and C, so I don't skip a fret and C is just after B. And so on, I can find all the notes on the second string using the same method. I suggest that you pause the video and practice finding the notes on the A string. You'll find a sheet in the description that shows all the notes on the fretboard. You can keep looking for the notes and check your answers with the sheet. What about sharps and flats? We're going to fill in the empty frets on the fretboard by adding other notes called sharps and flats. Between F and G, there is a note that can be called either F sharp or G flat. F sharp because when we move to the right from F, F becomes F sharp. G flat because when we move to the left from G, G becomes G flat. So a sharp is a note that has been moved one fret to the right, making it higher in pitch. A flat is a note that has been moved one fret to the left, making it lower in pitch. F sharp and G flat are the same note. It's the note between F and G. We call it either F sharp or G flat, depending on the context, which we will see later when learning scales. After G, I'm going to find G sharp. I can also call this note A flat because it is just before A. After A, I'm going to find A sharp, which can also be called B flat. Between B and C there is no note, so B sharp and C flat don't exist. The same goes for E and F. E sharp and F flat don't exist. And so on across the rest of the fretboard. What we just covered is the basic method for finding notes on the fretboard. It helps you easily find all the notes. At first it might take some time, but with practice you will be able to find them much faster. I'm now going to give you 3 tips that I always use to find notes faster. The first tip is that we have the same note 2 frets to the right and 2 strings down. Let me show you. If I start from E, I move 2 frets to the right and 2 strings down, and I find another E. This is called an octave. It's the same note, but one sounds lower and the other sounds higher. Since the bass is symmetrical, this works for all notes. If I start from A, I move 2 frets to the right and 2 strings down, and I find A at its higher octave. It also works the other way around. If I start from a higher A and I move 2 frets to the left and 2 strings up, I find the lower A. The second tip is knowing that we have the same note 1 string down and 5 frets to the left. I start from B. I go 1 string down and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets to the left, and I find another B. And the other way around, if I start from the open A string, I go 5 frets to the right, 1 string up, and I find the A on the 5th fret of the first string. The third tip, which we've already touched on, is that we have the same note 12 frets apart. When we were at the 12th fret, we had the same notes as the open string, but this applies to all notes. If I start from the 5th fret and move 12 frets to the right, I could count each fret, but I can also use fret markers as a reference. I have a small dot on the 3rd fret and another on the 5th fret. Since the fretboard repeats after the 12th fret, the first dot I see here is the same as the one on the 3rd fret, and the second dot I see here is the same as the one on the 5th fret. So the note on the 5th fret are at the 2nd fret marker, and these are the same note as the 2nd fret marker after the 12th fret. When you look for a note beyond the 12th fret, it's just like looking for a note at the beginning of the fretboard. Beyond the 12th fret, the fretboard is exactly the same as it is here at the start. With these 3 tips and the basic rule, you can easily find all the notes. However, if you want to find the notes even faster, what I did was memorize the natural notes A, B, C, D, E, F, G on the 1st and 2nd strings up to the 12th fret. Why up to the 12th fret? Because after that, the note repeats thanks to the rule that we have the same note 12 frets apart. Why on the first 2 strings? Because using octaves, I can create symmetry between the 2 highest strings and the 2 lowest strings. If I ask myself what this note is, I know by heart that it's a C, because it's a natural note, and I use natural note very often, so it's worth memorizing them. If I ask myself what this note is, I know that right next to it there is a C, so it's a C sharp. If I look for this note, I know thanks to the octave rule that it's the same as this one. And I know by heart that this one is a D. If you don't want to memorize by heart, it's not a problem, because in any case, the notes that are used often will naturally stick in your mind as you keep finding them. Don't worry too much about learning the notes on the fretboard, because it's something that will naturally develop throughout your bass learning journey. At first, you will spend a lot of time looking for notes, but as you keep searching for the same ones, you will end up remembering them on your own. My name is Thibaut. If you like this video, subscribe, leave a like, and I will see you soon.